These are the most advanced and easiest to use and set up VR gloves I've ever used, and they're compatible with every Steam VR game out of the box. If you've ever used virtual reality, you're used to using a motion controller, but gloves, that's a whole new level. These are the Contact Glove 2s by DiverX with the added Magnatra 2 module. Before we keep going, a special shout out to DiverX for supporting the channel, giving us these amazing accessories to check out, and sponsoring today's video. These gloves use a proprietary bend sensor so that every single finger and joint is tracked independently. That means that every small motion you make with your fingers, whether you're bending them, widening them, closing them, moving them, the gloves will track them in real time. So that means the smallest motion gets captured in virtual reality. You see, it doesn't just track the fingers like hand tracking, it actually tracks every single joint, which is a big deal because it ends up making it feel much better. Compared to using a regular controller, whether you're using the Quest 3 controllers or whatever other controllers, it's a revolutionary way to grab onto things in virtual reality. The sensors themselves are extremely thin. They fit inside these white gloves that come with the setup. Speaking about what comes with it, this comes with the Contact Glove 2s, and you can get it with the Magnatra, I think that's how you say it, 2 module. This module allows you to actually use controls in a game, including a trigger, face buttons, and an analog stick that clicks over top of your hand and allows you to use your thumb and fingers to interact with it. It can be pushed back if you want it to be, so you can just grab onto things. You can push it forward if you're holding a gun or if you need to interact with something. It actually is pretty intuitive. For me, it sits a little bit higher than I wish that it did. I wish it sat a little bit lower, but I think that it would probably end up being in the way of moving out of the way, and it might get a little bit annoying. But overall, once I got used to actually using the buttons and the triggers, it actually functioned pretty darn well. It does add a little bit of weight to the gloves, meaning they're a little bit heavier and bulkier, but realistically, it's no different than holding them, and it actually feels a little lighter because it's just attached to the back of your hand and you're able to reach around and grab things. Now, it is attached to your hand, so you do have something physical on your hands that you're going to use, so maybe you'll get hot, but overall, they're pretty breathable fabric. The inside towards your palm is a very light mesh kind of fabric, where the back of it is more of like a vinyl kind of plasticky feeling to it where all the sensors run through. Now, let's talk about the Magnatra 2, which is the controller that attaches to the top of this thing as well. That is what allows you to actually interact with the world through button presses or artificial movement or trigger pulls, depending on what you're doing in the game. You don't actually pull a button to pick things up. Obviously, you're going to physically grab onto things in the game, which felt really strange playing in games like Half-Life Alyx or other things where I'm used to using a button to grab things. It was pretty cool, I have to admit, to actually be able to physically interact with things in the game. But the controller aspect, the Magnatra 2 is what allows you to actually play the game, whether it's artificial locomotion or, pressing buttons, or like I said, pulling a trigger if you've got a gun or anything else that requires pulling of the trigger. All of those things are done by pushing the buttons in the controller interface that's called the Magnatra 2 that floats kind of above your hand. It's got this armature that allows you to swing it into place, and you can tighten it down by turning the knobs to tighten it into place if you want to. There are 4 face buttons on either side, and then like a menu/start style button along with the thumbstick. Now, a couple of things to note about this. Like I mentioned, it does sit a little bit higher than I would have liked. If it was possible to sit lower, it would have been more comfortable. But again, I think it would have been more annoying to try to swing it back and forth over the top of the hand. The cool thing about this is just the fact that you're able to use your hands, not the controllers. And when you need to use controllers, you just swing them into place. Or they can stay there because I can grab things even around them if I need to. But I know what the question is going to be: haptics. What does it have for haptics? It does have haptics. There are not individual haptics in the gloves themselves or in the fingers. The haptics are actually in the unit on top of your palm or on the back of your hand where everything else is attached. It's going to vibrate and shake the back of your hand when you touch something or interact with something. And it actually works pretty well. It's not as good as like haptics if you were touching something with a haptic glove that had finger haptics, but it does work pretty well just to sell the idea of you touching things with the vibrations from the back of your hand, because it just kind of shakes your whole hand. I think the biggest feature of this, though, isn't even the features of the gloves themselves, but it's the compatibility of this. It's seamlessly compatible to work with SteamVR right out of the box. Speaking of out of the box, I was set up literally in just a matter of minutes. You take everything out of the box and you plug in the dongle into your USB slot on your computer and you download some software, and then it walks you through several steps that are very easy. The gloves turn on with a switch on the back and they immediately connected with the dongle with no issue whatsoever, and they consistently stay connected too. I don't have any issue with that at all. Then it walks you through a very, very simple and easy to use setup for calibration, which is really intuitive, and it's probably one of the better setups for a VR accessory that connects to a PC I've ever used. The coolest thing though is, like I said, it works with SteamVR right out of the box. So once you launch SteamVR, it's gonna add an add-on software to SteamVR. Once that is in place, all of the bindings are standard VR bindings. So you're going to be able to just jump into a game and play it. And your hands are just going to automatically be tracked as if they were like that, since the beginning, and the game was built to do that. You don't have to remap anything. It's just plug them in, launch SteamVR, and then your hands are there ready to play. And the controllers themselves that sit on top, or the Magnetra or the Magnetra 2, are perfectly suited and ready to go, whether it's pushing buttons or using the sticks to turn and move or whatever you have to do. Now, let's be realistic here. I'm talking about my real impressions. Are these for everyone? And if they're not, who are they for? Well, first of all, the gloves themselves are actually pretty comfortable. They're more comfortable than I expected them to be. They're pretty responsive too. The hand tracking isn't perfect. I do have to make some adjustments from time to time and recalibrate from time to time. And even though it does work well, it does have a little bit of latency, so it's not perfect. But it feels closer to being a full commercial consumer product than anything I've ever used that are gloves of this kind or any other kind as an accessory for VR. The fact that it's compatible with everything with SteamVR and all of your SteamVR games is a godsend, and it just works out of the box. So that in and of itself is amazing. Now, let's talk price. It's a pricey setup for this accessory. It's $5.99 to get these in your hands, quite literally allowing you to experience what I think could be the future of VR in the sense of interaction with your actual hands is what's going to eventually be the norm, I believe, if we get technologically advanced enough. But this will give you a taste of that, but that taste is going to cost you $599, which is a lot for an accessory, and it actually costs more than the Quest 3 that's sitting right here. The real question is, though, are we finally at the point where VR gloves can replace controllers? I'm not sure about replace entirely for everyone, but these can replace traditional controllers, at least for PC VR on SteamVR. They do not function natively with the Quest 3. They only work with SteamVR. But having said that, it's pretty darn impressive. I'm very impressed by this. More impressed than I was expecting to be. Honestly, I wasn't really sure how these were going to be. But they work way better than I could have expected, and they're a lot more fun than I would have thought that they were. What about you, though? Would you want to ditch your controllers for your physical hands in VR? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to check out these gloves, there's a link down in the description for you to check them out as well. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, happy questing.